Very good evening and a warm welcome to all for another session of Friday Water Thesis Club. The idea of Friday Water is to wet the Fridays with fun-filled and yet fruitful activities for the future generation. Friday Waters has water talkies, book reading, thesis club, and water arts. The focus of Water Thesis Club is on bringing the student scholars who have done or are doing a thesis alias research on water matters to the session in order to discuss with them the making of the thesis, research, and the issues around the subject covered. I am Ekta Gupta, the moderator for today's thesis club session. I am joined by Dr. Sonia Gupta, professor at Watson University, as a discussant for today's thesis club session. For today's session, we welcome our guest speaker, Pratiksha Singh, to share her research on odonates, bioindicator for aquatic ecosystem health. Pratiksha Singh is an ecologist interested in biodiversity research and conservation. Her areas of interest in research are freshwater ecology, entomology, biodiversity, and urban ecology, with major focus in wetlands, birds, and odonates in particular. She is engaged in science outreach through teaching, writing, nature walks, and talks. She is working as a researcher in central India exploring biodiversity and river health. She is currently doing her PhD at Barkatullah University in Bhopal with a focus on the health of the river Narmada in Madhya Pradesh. She is passionate about birds, insects, mainly odonates and butterflies. She is engaged in continuous and dynamic nature talks with various age groups. She has experience with ecological surveys regarding biodiversity assessment, bird monitoring, and butterfly surveys. For the past 5 years, she has been actively working with numerous organizations, including WWF, Bhopal Birds, TINSA Foundation, Green Hub Central India, and others, engaged in biodiversity research, documentation, and conservation in various roles. Welcome again, Pratiksha. May I now invite Sonia to take the session further with her? Over to you, Sonia.
Right. Thanks, Ekta, so much. And yes, a very warm welcome, Pratisha, once more. And thank you for taking up our invite and sharing your presentation. We look forward to your elaboration on this very intriguing topic, that you've taken up for your PhD, a topic that seems to be obvious, but entirely elusive until you brought it forward. So yes, the screen is all yours for the next 25 minutes. Please do share.
Okay, first let me share my screen.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank W4W and Mansi, Ekta, and Sonia for providing me with this opportunity to connect with the people who are working in the same field or another. Today, we are going to discuss the odonates bioindicator of aquatic ecosystem health, which is also my PhD thesis topic, and it's an ongoing research. Rivers, we all know, rivers are an essential nature blessings which has been provided to human beings as a major source of fresh water. As we all know, it provides us with so many things, such as it is a rich source of food, irrigation, water, for water use for industrial purposes and whatnot. Other than this, the rivers also provide the ecosystem services, such as the areas from which a river flows. It provides habitat to many aquatic organisms directly, or to the terrestrial organisms, maybe indirectly. Other than this, the rivers provide the water to the forest. They also support the livelihood of fisherman community and whatnot. So, as we all know, for thousands of years, rivers have helped us in settling, or we can say in developing our civilizations and spreading our civilizations through way far. But if we think what have we done to them, is all comes to our mind is that we have polluted them, we have degraded them, we have exploited them. So I think it's high time now that we should change this narrative, and we should conserve our rivers for a better future, and we should use them sustainably. This is a thematic map which shows the freshwater availability for humans. That is the water available for households, for industries, for farming, and other ways which is available for the direct use. As the population is rising, people affected by water stress and water scarcity is also rising sharply. We have only 0.3% water available for direct human use. That is already very less, and that too is getting degraded due to many reasons. In the current scenario, the natural resource conservation is, we all know, priority for all of us. And to conserve them properly, first we need to assess the status of a resource, that where it lies currently, so that we can properly take the actions for the conserving our natural resource. So this study also focuses on assessment of health of a central Indian river, that is the Narmada River, by using the bioindicator odonates. Merely taking measures for stream is, I think, not enough when it comes to conservation planning and action. However, we also need to consider the lateral connectivity of a stream when we talk about the conservation of a river, and the best part to consider for the lateral connectivity of the river is riparian zone. So we are assessing the health of river Narmada along with its riparian zone in the central Narmada region. And yes, odonates are believed to be a good indicator when it comes to the health assessment of both the aquatic environment and the terrestrial one. So the health of a river can be assessed by various parameters, likely the habitat structure available, the water quality of the stream, the biological characteristics of a river, and the riparian zone, as already I have told. And these parameters can be assessed by various means like the physical characteristics or the biological indicators. There are so many indicators and there are so many physical characteristics which we consider when it comes to the assessment of these parameters. So mainly we are focusing on the biological indicators today, and there are various biological indicators which are used for the health assessment of any aquatic water body. These bioindicators, some of them are likely to be fish, the mayflies, the stoneflies, benthos, the macrophytes, and the odonates, as we have started our talk with the odonates only. So odonates, I have taken odonates as bioindicator for my study. And these are the bioindicators which can be used for assessment of any aquatic ecosystem health. There are various organisms which can be used as bioindicators, and odonates are one of them. Odonata is an insect order which comprise of three suborders, that is the Anisoptera, Zygoptera, and the Anisozygoptera. And globally, the species which are found, they mainly lies within the two suborders, that is the Anisoptera and the Zygoptera. And these insects can be distinguished from other insects very easily just by observing, because of their various distinctive features. As you can see in the pictures, the above one is a dragonfly, which belong to the suborder Anisoptera, and the below one is a damselfly, which belong to the order Zygoptera. In both the suborders, the adults are very brightly colored, so they can be easily distinguished from the other insects if we go to observe the odonates, if we are interested. So they can be easily identified that yes, this is an odonate, although there are some organisms from which we can misidentify them as an odonates, like the owl fly or antlions, something. But yes, still, if you observe keenly, you'll get to know that no, these are not the odonates. So their adults are very brightly colored, and their body is divided into three parts. That is the abdomen, the thorax, and the head. Abdomen is the larger part, and it is segmented. They have three pairs of legs and two pair of wings. In dragonflies and in damselflies, they have the large globular eyes, which provide them a very wide vision. Their wings are provided with a nodus and a pterostigma. So, why they have considered as a good bioindicator for aquatic and for terrestrial ecosystem both. The reason behind this is their life cycle, because the odonates, their larval development completes underwater, and the adults are the flying terrestrial organisms or insects, we can say. So that is why they are considered as a good bioindicator of an stream. The adults mate in, I mean, they have very interesting characteristics both in their larval behavior, in the adults' behavior, in the reproductive behavior. But that is again a very large topic of discussion. So we'll discuss in short. We have less time. The odonates, their mating completes in a tandem position. Basically, they form a wheel-like position in which the male holds the female in a position, and they form a circle only when the mating can be completed. After the mating completed, their male adults are basically terrestrial. They have to hold a territory in the water body. The reason behind this is that the female will lay their eggs in water just after the mating. So the male have to be territorial to provide his mate a good habitat for egg laying. So just after, when the mating completes, the female lies the egg in the territory of her partner male. After that, when the females lay their eggs either inside some soft plant tissues or or directly into the water inside a jelly-like structure, and it directly flows into the water and stick to some surface of some hard surface of some plant or in stone or anything. So after the egg laying, this once the egg properly develop, the egg swallows the water inside through the membrane pores of the egg, and that is how the eggs hatch and the first larval stage appears out. The first larval stage of odonates is known as prolarva, which can long up to 9 hours. And they are hemimetabolous insect. This means they don't have a pupal stage in their life cycle. They have an incomplete life cycle. So they don't have any pupal stage. The adults directly emerges from the larval stage only. And this larva can develop in, this take 8 to 18 in stars to develop into a complete adult, depending on the species. It mean the species to species, it varies that how many instars will be there in a complete development of the larva. Minimum is 8 and maximum is 18. Then after the molting into the further instars, then the adult emerges out and they start flying as an adult, and then again the life cycle begins. This is the life cycle of odonates. Here are some interesting features about the odonates, that they are one of the most successful hunters in animal kingdom with a rate of 97% of success. The reason behind this is that they have a very strong flight. They can fly forward, they can fly backward, they can fly sideways also, and they can hover in the air. And along with this, their eyes have a huge number of omatids, which provide them a 360-degree stereo vision. So both their flight and their vision makes them a perfect hunter in the insect world. Also, they have they sometimes cannibalize other individuals for their survival. This is a common phenomenon seen in the organisms. The one most interesting phenomena appearing in odonates is that in some species, the females have developed endomorphism due to course of evolution. What happens in endomorphism? The females pass their color as the males to avoid the constant harassment by the males. This is a very interesting evolution in the females of mostly this phenomenon is seen in the damselflies. Coming to the habitat preference, because this is very much related to our topic that odonates are affected by the habitat availability. In for the egg laying, the odonates will require aquatic plants and the fresh water with a good water quality, low pH, high oxygen, everything. As they have endophytic and exophytic egg laying, so they will require the macrophytes as well and a good water quality as well for the development of their eggs. Coming to the larva, their larva inhabit bottom of the pond mostly, depending on the species, not always. So sometimes in some species, the larva inhabit the bottom of the pond. Sometimes they burrow into the sediment, or sometimes they live in the macrophytes, near the macrophytes. So these are the different habitat preferences in the aquatic life form, that is for egg laying and the larval stages. Coming to the adults, the damselflies mostly prefer open grassland because they get most sunlight there. The grasslands are not covered with any kind of large trees or something, so they prefer the grasslands. The dragonflies adults mostly they are the territorial adults, so they prefer the perching sites which are available inside the water body, or they prefer the shrubland, the dense forest, like the gomphids prefer dense forest, and the libellules prefer the perching sites on the open water body, and they get enough sunlight there. Odonates had hold a significantly ecological importance for various reasons, as they play a vital role in maintaining ecological balance, controlling the pest population biologically, and indicating the health of any aquatic body. So they hold a significant ecological importance as well. They are a part of food chain as predator and as a prey both. Coming to the study area of my thesis is Narmada River. Narmada River is also called as Reva. This is the fifth longest river in the Indian subcontinent. Narmada basically originates from the Amarkantak, and it flows through Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Gujarat between Vindhya and Satpura hill ranges before falling into the Gulf of Kambar in the Arabian Sea. These are the location details of my study sites. I have taken 6 study sites in the Narmada River only. First is Sandia, second is Bankhedi Reva, Mudiakheda, Bandra Bhan, Shipaner, and Dongarwad. They all lies in Narmadapuram district only. These are some pictures for reference of my study sites, like for the habitat availability and the water quality and river. You can see the pictures here. During my field of this study, what I have observed is that the habitat alteration in the water body can shape the invertebrate community found there. That is the any kind of invertebrate community, or if we are talking particularly about the odonates, the habitat alteration uh, will have a huge impact on the community structure, or we can say the population of the odonates. The habitat alteration is the key factor which shape the odonates community and the population structure there in any water body. The second is that the between the study sites, what I have observed till now is that the odonate diversity does not differ much. This can be because of the uniform morphological features of the river, as it flows from the plain only. But the anthropogenic disturbances, which vary in the different sites. So the anthropogenic disturbances basically they are affecting the habitat availability for the odonates, and that is why anthropogenic disturbances are somehow affecting the diversity of the odonates in the study sites. And obviously, if the species are present in the study sites, it indicates that the habitat for them is available there. Highest number of damselfly has been recorded from Mudiakheda and Bandra Bhan. This is because of the habitat availability only, because the damselflies prefer a shaded habitat. In Mudiakheda and in Bandra Bhan, there is a good riparian zone existing still. So that is why this is the reason that the presence of large amount of macrophytes and a good riparian zone, they both provide a good habitat for the damselflies. That is why the damselfly diversity is high in two sides of the six. As this is an ongoing research, so there are some outcomes expected from this study, that this will be helpful in demonstrating the odonate diversity in the central Indian region. Also, it will be helpful in assessing the riparian health of central Narmada. This will be able to show the relation between odonate diversity and the riparian zone in the central Narmada region. I mean, how the riparian health is affecting the odonate diversity, whether it is related or not. Also, this will be helpful in assessing the response of odonates along with the habitat condition and the anthropogenic disturbances, as the anthropogenic disturbances are affecting the habitat availability for the odonates. Along with this, this study also have some policy implications. The National Biodiversity Authority, in one of its document, that is the mainstreaming biodiversity, in 8.1.1, it says that an ecosystem health card to be developed based on the water quality index, the habitat index, and the living resources index. So odonates can be a part of the living resources index, and the habitat which we are assessing, habitat availability for the odonates, can be considered in the habitat index, that is the B point for the 8.1.1. And NBA also envisages developing an ecosystem health card for rivers using the biological indicators. And obviously, odonates are biological indicators, so they can be a part of ecosystem health card of this river Narmada. So after the completion of this thesis, we can have the policy implications, and we can take the results or the observations of this study consideration for making any kind of policy for conservation of Narmada in future. These are some of the common species observed in the study area. Ditch whale, common hooktail, long-legged marsh glider, and these are the damselflies. Sorry. The coromandel marsh dart, pygmy dartlet, and saffron-faced blue dart. These are some of the very common odonates which I have observed during my study period. These are the references.
Congratulations, Pratiksha. I think, you have approached a very huge environmental issue with something that is so completely natural and yet rooted in scientific outlook. So I really look forward to how this is going to pan out. And may I ask you a few questions?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just wondering that, you're talking about odonates, and I can understand that's your focus, but are there other life forms that can be bioindicators of aquatic ecosystem health?
We have discussed
Just to get a
little bit.
larger picture. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there are various life forms that can be the bioindicators for aquatic ecosystem health. Like if we fishes are the bioindicators, they can be used as bioindicator for any aquatic ecosystem health. Other than this, we can include the organisms from the order Ephemeroptera, that is the mayflies or the stone flies. There are caddis flies, which they are the indicator of a good water quality, because mayflies and stone flies, caddis flies, they can only survive in a river or in a water body, which is not very much degraded. So there are indicator species starting from benthos, fishes, these mayflies, stoneflies, odonates, and everything. Uh, Sometimes we can use birds as indicator as well, because aquatic birds are also dependent on freshwater fishes, or they are dependent for the breeding. Also, they are dependent on the water body as well. So they can also considered as a bioindicator of an aquatic ecosystem health. So there are number of organisms which can be used as bioindicator of aquatic ecosystem health. As there are species in every order, there are species which are tolerant to the pollution level, or which are sensitive. So presence or absence of these species in the area, they can tell us about the level of degradation, level of pollution, or how the ecosystem health is there presently.
Right. So I get the impression that these life forms themselves, they form an ecosystem of their own. And any disturbance would definitely lead to perhaps complete elimination or maybe some alteration in their growth pattern. So would you tell us a little more about how odonates, their growth and prosperity, how that would change if the health of the river ecosystem is not as great as it should be?
May I interrupt with Pratiksha? May I request to please close the slideshow so that we can get the full view of the speakers. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Mansi, you meant her to stop sharing, right?
Yes, please stop sharing the screen
just
so
stop
that
sharing.
we can. Yeah, thank you. Wonderful.
Basically, odonates, their larval life form is totally dependent on the water body. So if there will be pollutants, if there will be a habitat unavailability or habitat alteration, they will surely affect the diversity and the survival of the odonates in the particular area on the whole stream. Because their larval development, suppose if we take some one or two factors, first is the egg laying. They are dependent on macrophytes for egg laying. Basically, damselflies used to lay their eggs in the endophytic position. So they lay their eggs inside the soft tissue of macrophytes, leaves or stems. So if the macrophytes will not be there, they will not be able to lay their eggs, and their survival will be affected, as they are not able to lay the eggs and they don't have any other option to lay their eggs anywhere else. The another factor we can consider is temperature. Their larval development is totally dependent on the temperature. any kind of alteration in the temperature from the threshold, whether it goes down or whether it goes above. So this will affect their larval development as well. So because the in the larval development, when the morphogenesis happens, it is under control of hormones, and this hormonal change occurs on the response of the temperature gradient. So if the temperature will not suitable, they won't be able to release the hormones, and their metamorphosis will not get complete. So their survival and their life cycle will get affected.
So I get the idea that there could be complete elimination of a species if they are not able to breed and lay eggs and carry on. That means it could finally lead to elimination if you're not being careful about the health of the aquatic ecosystem.
Yeah, in long term it can happen.
Yes,
Because
that's what
once
I
the
meant.
species will not get the habitat, it is possible that either they can move to some other suitable habitats, or if that is the only habitat for them, they will face the elimination.
Right, that is so unfortunate. So I'm wondering at a greater picture whereby we know that the river is, it's a great balance between the glaciers that actually where they begin, their origin, and then right up to the sea. Now, we are in the midst of this huge climatic imbalance, right? Where we have glaciers melting too fast, and then we have flooding. So this entire system that we have disturbed so much, is that going to affect the health of the odonats and other life forms?
Yes, because rivers indeed play a crucial role in balancing the water flow between the glaciers and the sea. Uh, Basically, if we are talking about the odonates, there are the species which, when we see around the headwaters, and then in the uh, forest or in the hills, the species which occupy those habitats, they get changed. But if we talk about the climate change and this relationship between the rivers, glaciers, and the sea, it will affect the life forms in various ways. Suppose if the because of the increase in the temperature, if the glaciers will start melting, they will result in an increased sudden influx of water in the river, and
Right.
this will certainly degrade the habitat in various ways, like it will flow off the vegetation from where it is available right now. So again, that is will cause the habitat unavailability for the odonates and other organisms. And if because of the low temperature, if the glaciers are not melting, and the rivers which are dependent on the glaciers for their flow, they will not get enough amount of flow, and this will cause the stagnant water system, and it can lead to eutrophication, because the nutrients will not get diluted because of less amount of water or less flow of water. Another thing which can get caused is less amount of oxygen, because eutrophication will increase, and
Right.
this will decrease the oxygen availability, and it will
Right.
affect the survival of other aquatic organisms and odonates as well.
Right. That just, that brings me to, you have talked about the riparian zone.
Yeah.
And though we understand, I'm sure all of us, about what it means, but if you, in the light of your research, if you could elaborate a little more on what we actually mean, what features must it have? How do you distinguish between, say, the tributary and a distributary and the river itself and the riparian zone? If you could please elaborate.
Yeah. Basically, the riparian zone is a landform between the river and the forest. So these riparian zones play a very crucial role in forming the health and forming the shape of the river, because they work as a filter between all the pollutants and the stream. They absorb the pollutants, they decrease the intensity of any kind of pollutants. The riparian also helps in preventing the soil erosion. So in many forms, it provides a great variety of habitat to the organisms. Like we were talking about the odonates, the larval form is obviously will complete underwater, but the
Right.
adults for their food, they are dependent on the insects which are residing in the riparian zone. So this riparian zone also play a very great role in shaping the structure of the whole aquatic ecosystem. It is not possible to just focus in the stream only, because the riparian zone is, if the riparian zone is good, it basically tells a lot about the health of a stream.
Right. So that means if we are also disturbing, because riparian zone, as you confirmed, is the landform. So if you are disturbing the vegetation, the soil over there, then that's also going to directly affect the life forms, right? So it is, so when in your thesis, are you also going to be doing that? Are you going to be also looking at the riparian zones and their health as, they're affecting the assessment of biological indicators? Yeah.
Yeah, riparian zone assessment is also a part of my thesis.
Okay, great to know that. Wonderful. So I was just thinking about, you brought up the policy implications as well.
Yeah.
And in the policy, does it seem like there is something hopeful, something optimistic, pointing towards taking our biological indicators as our assessment method? Does it?
Yeah, basically, if we are thinking about the conserving a river or any aquatic body, so for knowing the status where it lies currently, we have to assess that what kind of pollutions are there. On basis of that only, we can make further points how we have to conserve the river or the water body. And in that case, we have options to assess the health. And if we go to the traditional method, that is the water quality, either we'll go through the water quality method, or we'll consider the bioindicators. So bioindicators are easy to use because they are economically feasible, they are time saving, easy to observe.
Yes.
And in the water quality or chemical method, we require a lot of we require a lot of time, we require the economic sources
Resources.
also,
Yes.
and everything. So I think bioindicators are a good way to assess the health for the policy planning.
Right. So I also observed that there are some questions in the chat box. Mansi, is that correct?
May I ask? Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Sonia and Pratiksha. Wonderful and sensitive topic to touch upon, because when we talk about river health and all, people are always looking at big creatures, I remember when Professor Vipin Vyas had presented in biodiversity series, they were talking about microphytes and macrophytes and all, which we often just ignore. And 99% of the masses who are even educated are unaware of these things and the requirements of it. And a classic example you gave is of the riparian zone, and the blindfolded riverfront development and lakefront developments are just not taking these creatures and these bioindicators into consideration. So my first question to you, actually, I have a couple of questions, if you allow me, Sonia. So I'm getting triggered now with these hot topics. My first question is that, have you noticed, or either through journal articles or secondary literature, or through your own observations with your years of work, that these creatures are adapting to the new anthropogenic pressures or even climate change pressures? Are there any science or any research done on their adaptation for? Because see, every creature wants to live longer, huh? or wants to procreate this way or that way. Unfortunately, humans are the most successful species among that, but it will be good to know what kind of adaptations they have made.
Basically, I think there must be research on this, but odonates are not very well studied.
Yes, that's another big problem. Huh?
Yeah, so I have not gone through any evolutionary study on this adaptation purpose, because there are some evolutions, but they are related to their morphological changes and something. Uh, Other than that, I don't. I haven't.
There is a room for more work for you, and that's
Yeah,
good.
obviously.
But it's good to know that, and you also know where there is more room to study these beautiful creatures. Now, my question related to the same is, when I look at your study sites and compare, let's say, Sandhya and Chipaner, or Sandhya versus Bandrabhan, or Mudya Kheda. I always get intrigued, because we are looking at these water systems more from human appropriation. All the projects of river restoration are focused towards tourism and not focused towards, promoting the health. And when you talk about the biodiversity clause from the policy perspective, do we really have these discussions on the table when big people are meeting, and what not? I mean, I'm sure you have discussed this with your professors and supervisors also. Are these creatures even discussed in the policy rooms? I mean, I'm really concerned, because do we already have some kind of health card for these insects and, micro insects, I will say, because dolphin ke liye people are going to spend billions. I mean, I have no objection to that, but do we have enough funding resources for researchers to study them? Because people like you become voice of these creatures, because they cannot go to the policy room and talk about it and ask for their rights. But what is our status as of now, today, in the country, where these creatures can get some voice? I mean, do we have health card, or how are they included in the river health assessment? I just came back last week from a very big conference at IIT BHU. I wish I was knowing your work, so that I could have invited you there to present. Like you, there were very good student presentations, but I think more of biodiversity presentation is required. But let me hear from you on what is the status of discussing these creatures in the policy level. You can give me a scale, percentage, 1% to 90%, I don't know.
Basically, I also don't think if they are considered in the policy implications, or they are studied or considered as that much larger scale. That is why there are not so much studies, not so much research conducted on these creatures, their conservation and everything. But yes, if I think if I'm doing this research, once I'll complete this, I will go to the NBA for sure to include them in the health card. Uh, there are some regions which have developed their health card, like Niri Nagpur. They have developed the health card for the wetlands of the wetlands of Nagpur. But when I discussed with them at that time, they didn't included the odonates in the health card. And that lady was discussing with me, and she was saying that we will be happy to include this also as indicator in the health card. And she was really happy to see the work, and she was ready for the implementation of this in the health card. So I mean, if we will discuss with the people, if we will say to people who are in the table of the policy making and the conservation efforts, so I think they will listen.
I think, it's a more of a chicken and egg situation, Pratiksha, because unless and until there is more funding for these kind of research, we are not getting more voices and more researchers doing it. Unless and until there are more researchers doing it, they are not, these creatures are not going to be heard. As I mentioned, you people become like, voices of these creatures when you study them. So my next question to you from here is, when you talk about, bringing them on board into the health card, and if a prestigious institution like NIDI is also considering it, and you very well mentioned about doing health indicators through the pollution control board matrix, or doing it through the bio matrix, because when pollution control board is looking at the matrix, it's all more physico-chemical properties, and biological properties are not even considered as of now, even when we talk about whether the river is healthy or not. And even the best of the colleges, they stop with only 4 or 5 from pH to DO to COD to BOD, and maybe color or some few more indicators, although pollution control board itself uses more than 250 indicators for river health or wetland health. But when we talk about, bioindicators or biodiversity health card, and if we have not yet developed it so robust, if it is to be developed, do you think we are in a position to really take into account 500 indicators, or you will really vouch for, let's say, odonates or one indicator, which has been used, by the way, it's just like talking about tiger and dolphin, and then the justification given is कि tiger study करने से पूरा forest study हो जाएगा. This is a myth which we live with, and just like dolphin study करने से पूरा river and सारे species study हो जाएगा. It is unfortunate the way things are looked at. What do you think, how minimum standards of health card, if we look at insects and macrophytes, have you come across any matrix apart from what NIDI is doing, apart from what Pollution Control Board is doing around the world? You don't have to limit yourself to India, that they have good bioindicators which are used. I worked in one project with a friend very briefly. I could not continue the project in Indonesia, where they used bioindicators for citizen science. Because the question I was coming to you is, if these indicators can be used through citizen science rather than high value scientific way, because while we are studying, we also have to conserve these species. When I was of your age and even younger than that, that time Chhattisgarh was MP, I remember seeing them in hundreds in my childhood in school and near my house. Now in my own city, I barely see one of them in 6 months, and I'm super excited. So this is a change I can see in 40 years. So hundreds in a day, and now once in 6 months or a year. And this is already, we are talking about extinction, as Sonia was mentioning. So,
and yeah, just to say here, Mansi, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, just, that certain species, like you were saying, that you see them only once in 6 months and you get excited. And many bird species, because this also forms part of the ecosystem, aquatic ecosystem, birds and water animals. During COVID, when we were all stuck in our houses, we could actually see that these species have come back.
In Ahmedabad. I saw Jugnu in Ahmedabad 1 or 2 during COVID. Never saw it in 25 years.
Exactly. So we know what to do.
Yes, we don't have to go out much in the dark.
Exactly.
Anyway, so Pratiksha, are there any good health card prepared around the world which we can start as a reference point in India and develop and elaborate here? Because we are one of the hotspot biodiversity centers in the world.
Sorry, Mansi, I was not able to hear you. Can you please repeat?
Okay, so I was really making a long questions. I'll cut it short and ask you. So because we are one of the hotspots, biodiversity hotspots in the world, it is very embarrassing that we are still not using them as health card indicators for our ecosystem reporting, especially for wetlands and rivers. Have you come across good health card reports or framework around the world which we can use as a starting point and develop for India?
Basically, I have gone through some these indexes that are developed for the odonates only,
Yes.
and we can develop them for India. There is no such index or something for odonates in India. So when I started my literature review, I was thinking that I will start from here. I will take this into next level for developing this habitat index and something like that for the odonates only. And then after that, if we are doing the habitat index development for the odonates,
No, sorry.
we can get the for developing the indexes for other organisms, which we were talking about the bioindicators of aquatic ecosystem health. And from there, we can start something. I mean, we have to develop uh, the health card or anything.
Okay, let me just end with a very funny question to you, and I think then I will hand it over. I learned from you, and I'm quite excited about it because we live in a patriarchal society that some female odonates have endomorphism to evade
Yeah.
constant harassment by males. So, so I just picked that up to end my part in a very light note. I wish women in this country also could develop something like this to stop all kinds of harassments by the male. But thank you so much, and over to you, Sonia. This is not a question,
We
but it
have
was
to
just
go
to
a
bring a
long
smile.
way for that.
Yes, it is just a lighter note to end my conversation with you, because I wanted to ask this question to you because it was Madhya Pradesh Chief Minister who actually talked about putting a tracker in every woman's body. And it is quite embarrassing statement by a political leader. So I would really wish that if there is something tracking system on male in this country will be better, and we can learn from odonates how we can do that. But anyway, it's just a joke. So thank you so much, Pratiksha, and over to you, Sonia.
Yeah, thanks, Mansi. And I really think that this has been one of the most vibrant and energetic sessions of the Thesis Club. So thank you, Mansi. Thank you, Pratisha, so much for coming on board and letting us talk on so many aspects that would lead to healthy aquatic ecosystems. And yes, we look forward to your getting your PhD and engaging with us on other platforms as well. And yes, like Mansi said, that we have so many avenues of collaboration and further research. Yes. So with that, deep, deep gratitude, and over to Ekta.
Thank you, Sonia. First of all, thanks to Pratiksha for sharing her thesis with us, and it's really eye-opening. We used to talk about, I'm not an expert, but I still remember that I was talking to a few lawyers about the nature's law, that how bezuban ki zuban, who will be the voice of these uh, you know this natural things, natural ecosystem and all. So we never know that this type of research is going on, and definitely this type of research will help these legal system also, as we were talking about the policies and what should be the laws. We talk about the human rights, and Menka Gandhi is known for this, animal rights and all. But still, there is no any proper system to protect the rights of these natural systems. So this type of research, there should be the proper funding so that more scholars, more people should come to know about it. And the most important is common people should know. Biodiversity, we talk about a lot of biodiversity, but we are disturbing this ecosystem. We are, I would like to speak in Hindi. बचपन में हम सुनते थे कि ये वाला फल होता था, ये वाली यहाँ पर ये वाली मक्खियां होती थी, ये वाली चिड़िया होती थी, ये कबूतर होते. But nowadays all are extinct. We used to hear a lot of chirping of sparrows, crows, Nowadays, we can't see a crow. So this is biodiversity, and every insect, every bird, every animal has a proper what I say, that they have the importance in the food chain cycle, in the life cycle. So if any of one is disturbed, then the whole life cycle is disturbed, and that's what we are doing with the nature. So this type of research, thanks to Pratiksha and thanks to Mansi, who has given me the opportunity to moderate this session and learn a lot on different topics. Thank you. And
Thank
thanks to
you.
all. And now it's time to announce another sessions. So we request all to go through the links in the chat box and join us on every third Friday of every month to know more about our researchers and to learn what are the different type of research are going on and how it can help to the common people. Please join us for the next Friday water session. We invite you to Water Arts on October 27th, 5 p.m. IST on Virtual Art in Water with Michelle Boyle. The link to join the session is in the chat box. In the forthcoming Wednesday for water session on October 25th, 2023 at 5 p.m. IST, do join the discussion on navigating waste and wastewater in Himalayan region. Please register at the given links. Also, visit us at www.w4w.in for further information. And thanks to all once again for joining us. Thank
No,
you.
I remember. Thanks, Ekta. Thank you so much for conducting the thesis club for so long and so religiously. You have been doing it. और मुझे नाम याद आ गया, इसको हम लोग बचपन में फुरफुंदी बोलते थे. I would like to bring this word on record. So furfundi, and I mean, we used to get so excited looking at them. So I hope in future people are going to really look at these creatures with more empathy, and there will be more pratikshas to do this kind of research. Thank you so much, all of you. Please take care of yourself, and we see each other soon. And thanks for keeping these sessions more, meaningful for us. Thank you.